Hey guys, Miss Riggs here. And this is our Chapter 14 series on interactions in ecosystems. And today we're going to kind of review some things we've already talked about, but do know that I would like you to fill out your note packet that you received with this, and I will post one of these lectures up each day. So remember, you need to start with your warm-up, and then you need to go to these lectures on the Google Classroom and fill out your notes with them, and then complete your web quests after that. So let's get started. So we've talked before about what a habitat is versus a niche. And what is a habitat? So a habitat is basically where an organism lives. This is all of the biotic and abiotic factors in the area. So remember, biotic means all the living factors, so anything it's interacting with, and the abiotic factors are the non-living things. So where's their water source? What is their land like in their ecosystem or in their habitat? Some examples would be the grasses, the trees, where they get their water, basically just where it lives would be that habitat. So what's the difference between that and a niche? So the niche, remember, is the role that that organism plays within an ecosystem. So it's composed of all the physical, chemical, and biological factors that a species needs to survive. It's going to include the type of food a species eats, certain abiotic conditions, the species behavior, how does it interact with that environment. So an example might be, we can use a keystone species for this example, like a beaver's niche, its role in that environment is it's going to build dams and create habitats for certain fish or certain other species based off of its dams. That's part of its niche. That's part of the role that it plays within that environment. So resource availability. We've talked a little bit about a community. What is a community versus a population? So remember, a community is different groups of species that interact within an ecosystem. So we might have a community of aquatic ecosystems, might be fish, otters, maybe frogs, maybe the plants. All of these are a community. They're living together in different groups of species. Versus a population, remember, is a group of species that interacts together in an environment. So a population or a community is many species sharing similar habitats and use the same resources. So competitive exclusion. Now we're getting to how organisms interact with each other. Competitive exclusion is basically, we're talking about competition, and the stronger is going to survive, or it's going to take over that environment. So this happens a lot when species use the same resources in the same way. So remember, we can only hold one niche in an environment. So competition is a way to counteract other organisms taking that niche. So one species will always be better adapted to that environment. And so this is competitive exclusion. So again, this states that when two species are competing for the same resources, one species will be better suited for that niche, and the other species will be pushed into another niche or become extinct. So that doesn't mean that one species is going to necessarily take over that entire ecosystem. Sometimes they might just take over a different part of that ecosystem. So you can talk about possibly like different species of barnacles might reside or live on different parts of a rock. They just might take over a different niche within that environment. So other ways that competitive exclusion might affect an ecosystem. Niche partitioning, these are going to divide resources based on competitive advantages. So we just talked about basically the barnacles residing in different places, so they're kind of dividing those resources, and they have taken over different niches or parts of that ecosystem. Evolutionary response, different sizes of teeth could affect the way that they eat. So they might evolve to eat different things because they need to fulfill a different niche because of that competition. So ecological equivalence, these are species, the same species that occupy similar niches but that live in different geographical regions. So they might be very similar species. They might not necessarily be the exact same species, but they're going to fulfill the same niche. So they're going to fulfill the same role in a very, very similar environment. So an example might be a certain type of frog in Madagascar and a different type of frog in South America. Both have the same niche or both have the same generally ecosystem, and they play the same role in that ecosystem, but they are never going to compete for the same resources because they live in different places. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and stop here. We just had a quick lecture for the first one just to make sure everything works out okay and everybody understands what they're supposed to do. So you should have filled out a few of your note packets. Put that note packet somewhere safe so you don't lose it, and we will start again tomorrow.